Krista. So we don't use any last names really when we're doing research, or at least we don't share that outside of this research.
Yep.
All right, thank you. I'm glad you have the familiarity, because sometimes I have to explain to people that we're not here to scam or do anything.
Right.
That's not legit.
Right.
So Dr. Krista, tell me, how long have you been a vet?
I've been a veterinarian since 1989.
Okay, so
Worked in the field before that, so been doing this all my life.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And do you currently have your own clinic, or you work with other people in a different clinic?
I work in a multi-doctor practice.
Okay. And what are some of the animals that you mainly treat? Is it mainly dogs, cats, pretty much any?
Just dogs and cats.
Dogs and cats. Okay,
yeah.
Great. And then at the end of the interview, I just have a few questions that I'm going to ask you, because I want to make sure I build like a profile for you, but I'll kind of do that at the end. Okay. Do you have any pets of your own?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of pets do you have?
7 dogs.
7 dogs. Okay. That is a handful.
Yeah.
After this call, I'm gonna talk to you about pet adoption. If you know anything that you recommend, that'll be like a more personal topic that I'm dealing with right now.
Yep.
All right. So you have the 7 dogs. I'm assuming they're different breeds.
Yes, I breed and show French bulldogs and Borzois.
Oh my goodness! Basically what I wanted to talk to you about was a French bulldog, but like I said, that's going to be a separate conversation. It's exactly the dog that I've been meaning. Anyways, it's a whole conversation, but I'll definitely call you afterwards.
Yeah, because I can help you with that, because they can be problematic, but mine are not. But anyway, I can help you.
Okay, that's wonderful. I feel like, okay, this is going to work out even better. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I know you've been a vet since 1989, so you probably have a lot of information and knowledge that you can share and help us with this research. And I'm just going to get started and talk about the topic for today, which is really around a lot of different pet care products.
Okay.
The first thing I want to understand is, like, what are the products that you are using in your workplace to keep it clean and odor free? If you can tell me like the brand name, the type of product it is, if you recall.
Man, if you say it, I might be able to, because I don't order it, but we used to use like Rocal, but they're using something different now. For cleaning and in the mop water and stuff. If you said the name, I'd probably recognize it.
Well, I've had some people say that they've used like the rescue.
I think that
wipes. I think that's one that they use.
Yes, I do believe we have that.
Okay.
But then we also use a liquid to mix in mop water, and because we've got to mop up messes all the time.
Okay. And so some of the liquids that I've heard have been like Mr. Clean, Fabuloso, Lysol, or is it something more like vet grade?
It's more vet grade stuff that we use, because we've got to have it be able to know that it's going to kill certain viruses.
Okay. Like what kind of viruses does it need to kill, for example?
For example, like parvovirus, which is a gastrointestinal virus that's very, very contagious. Also, like kennel cough, we see a lot of that, which can be viral or bacterial in origin, and those types of things.
Okay.
And then even like certain parasites that are contagious. You clean it up, but then you've got to actually scour the area as well to minimize transmission.
Okay. In these products that you're using, what do you think makes them the most effective? What is it about them that makes them so effective?
So effective would be, they've done, studies to back up what they're claiming. And then they have been used in the environment that we work in, and have a pretty good reputation, kind of thing.
Are there particular ingredients or enzymes they contain that you think is helping, clean better or even control odor? Are you familiar with that?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the individual ingredients.
Okay. What about fragrances? Do any of these products have fragrances to them, or are they unscented?
They are unscented. We have a lot of clients that sometimes are very sensitive to fragrance, and I personally think that fragrance might make some people think you're covering something up instead of making it clean.
Okay. Do you think there's any, well, right now, do you use any fragrance at all in your workplace to control odor? Or is it completely fragrance free?
The only fragrance that we might use is like if we're doing anal glands, expressing a dog's anal glands, which can be very, very, very smelly, like the room smells even after you're done kind of thing. We'll use certain odor eliminator stuff. We may have samples and that kind of thing where we wash off the dog, but then we spray with something like that. But it's not going to have a strong fragrance, but it does help eliminate strong odor.
And do you recall what that fragrance is like?
One of the things that we have used is it's called Exo spray. And you can dilute it and put it in a little spray bottle, and it's okay to have contact with an animal. It's not going to hurt them. Okay.
Why do you believe that particular product won't hurt them? Is it something about the ingredients?
It's made for, for animals. It's an animal product.
Okay. And can you describe what fragrance it gives out? Is it kind of like a certain thing that reminds you of, or?
It's just a clean smell. It's not like I wouldn't say it's like, it's how some detergents I actually like the smell of Gain, but, this is just kind of a clean smell. It's a neutralizer more than anything, which you really need in some of the, things that we've got to clean up.
Okay.
Really are the worst.
Okay. And when you think of, you were telling me that if you don't believe, for these products that you're using to clean your workplace, if you were to put a fragrance, they would think you're covering something up.
Right.
Is there a type of fragrance that can be used that wouldn't give you that feeling that it's covering up?
Well, I mean, maybe like a Gain type smell or Pine Sol. I don't think, people associate that with a clean smell, that you're not covering it up. When I come into my house after they've been here and cleaned, the smell of Pine Sol smells really good when they've been scrubbing the floors,
Okay. Yeah. And those are good examples. Just trying to think if there's fragrances that doesn't feel like it's just a cover up, but maybe.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But they will still know it is clean. Okay. Yeah. Do you feel that most products that are in the market for cleaning and odor reduction are safe to use in the workplace or at homes with pets? What do you think about their safety?
Well, here's what I will say, and I don't know if this is helpful, but there are some products that they used to use at our practice, and I'm a terrible asthmatic, and it was a powder substance cleanser that they would mix in mop water, and that was such a trigger to my respiratory system. I had to be out of the room when they were mixing the mop water. It wasn't really a strong smell, but something in that powder that they were mixing, man, my airway would tighten. So and I would imagine there are other people that way. If you've got sensitive airways, you've got to be really careful, about stuff. And then the other thing that I've encountered over the years is sometimes you may have a new employee that doesn't understand there are certain things that you don't really want to mix, and they have comboed stuff that shouldn't really be combined, and it'll make a dangerous, it'll have a reaction, a chemical reaction, that can trigger airway problems. So I wouldn't say across the board everything is safe. Following the label directions are very important. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the name of any of these products? If you don't, that's fine. Just curious.
Well, I know in times, I don't remember the name of the powder substance that triggered my airways, but I have had instances where a new employee didn't understand chemicals and they thought it might be a good idea to mix like Comet with something that had a bleach solution in it, and that's a huge no-no. And man, you've got to air the room out. If you're in a closed space, it's a big no-no. So, gotta be careful.
What about safety concerns for the animals themselves, especially when using products like Rescue? And I think the other one you mentioned that was used maybe at a previous clinic was Roxel.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you spell that one? I'm sorry.
Rocal, Rocal, Rocal.
Okay. What about safety concerns for the animals themselves?
Right. So one thing that you have to be careful about. So for instance, if you're using some of those products to clean, for instance, like a run or a cage situation where an animal will have contact with the surface, some of those can be very irritating to the skin. And so you've got to make sure you get the area dry, because if you're not careful, you'll have some patients that have a contact surface reaction on their skin. You've got to be careful.
Okay.
Especially
what?
Male dogs.
Male dogs. Okay.
Yeah. With their private. Yeah.
With the private parts. Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to maybe if these products have like fragrance to them, or even the use of fragrances on any products, do you think that those can also have a negative impact on the animals? The fact that it has a fragrance. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't think it would have a negative impact on the animal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's not the case based on your experience and your knowledge of the biology of these animals?
I've just not known them to be bothered by that kind of thing. I think they're more triggered by maybe being worried about where they are, not necessarily how it smells. Being in the unfamiliar, I just don't think like the smell of a cleaner would set them off in a bad way.
What do you think there's certain fragrances that they may be allergic to?
Oh.
Or where they might have a bad reaction on certain fragrances?
Not as common as in people. You don't typically have dogs that are asthmatics like people are. Cats can have asthma, but they typically are not spending a lot of time like in a practice. You'd see them on an appointment and they turn around and go home. So I would worry more about people being a trigger that have respiratory issues that are going to be in there longer, as opposed to animal that's coming and going. I've just not seen them to be worried or get triggered by something because of the smell of a cleanser.
Okay. So like the other day I was talking to somebody and they had experience with dogs reacting negatively with scents like peppermint and eucalyptus, or tea tree. And I don't know if you have ever had any those kinds of cases or reactions to fragrances in that way.
So I've had some patients react to tea tree when they're putting it on the animal, not from smelling it. And I've just not had in a clinic had those fragrances.
Or even if they use them at home.
I mean, I've seen some topical reactions to tea tree oil. And I mean, that would be more of a contact thing.
Okay. So it's more like a contact, not necessarily something that kind of is sprayed in the area. What do you think if maybe the fragrance is too strong, do you think that can cause a reaction?
I suppose.
Okay. What do you think it may?
Well, I mean, one thing might be that, with a strong odor, sometimes they will remember an event. There was a strong odor with it. Say like, okay, I'm taking my dog in this room. That's where they get their allergy shots, or, this is where I'm giving them their medicine, or I'm clipping their nails and there's this odor or fragrance in this room. They may remember the fragrances where, you know what I'm saying? They may associate that with the location. I just don't see a lot of fragrance, honestly, triggering a medical reaction, as far as the odor itself goes, other than maybe they might, for instance, not exactly the same thing, but to give you an example, sometimes dogs remember having an adverse event like heartworm treatment or whatever. We've got to give intramuscular injections. Some of them remember the room they got it in and they don't want to go back. So if there's a particular unique fragrance in an area, that kind of thing can happen. If it's something that they don't like that happened in that area, they remember the odor, then it may trigger that. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yes.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
When, let's say, for example, if a dog is in a confined space and there's a strong fragrance in that space, do you think that kind of situation may actually give them a negative reaction to it, or still not? It's just kind of
I think it would be beneficial. I couldn't say that it would be a positive thing. How awful or how much of a negative impact on their health? I mean, it's kind of a vague situation. So, probably not ideal, if that helps.
No, perfectly. Yeah, we're just trying to understand if there are any reactions they can negatively have to any cleaning or odor controlling products with or without, a scent. And I believe you've given me a lot of good feedback there. So when we think about, Dr. Krista, I just kind of want to ask you this before I even go on to the next part. Are you associated right now with any type of your practice? Are they associated with any kind of organization or other businesses in the vet industry?
I don't know.
Like a veterinarian organization? Are you or your clinic associated with those kinds of organizations? Just kind of in the pet care industry in general?
Okay, so we're a member of the American Animal Hospital Association. I don't know if that's what you're thinking. And then I'm also a member of the American Veterinary Medical Association, AVMA, which is like AMA for medical doctors. It's our national organization. So those two things. I'm not sure if that's what you were asking.
No, yes. Any kind of association or organization that either yourself or the clinic is associated with just kind of helps us get a little bit more information. And so when it comes to the first one that you mentioned, how long have you been associated with them, or how long have you been a member with them?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Actually, basically, except for a 7-year gap in my entire career, I've worked in an AAHA hospital, American Animal Hospital Association. And if you're not familiar with them, it's a group that establishes a high standard of care. They not only evaluate the level or the quality of medicine that you practice, they inspect your facility to be sure that the design is one that facilitates, like sterile surgery suite, that the type of medicine that you practice is very current. It's a higher standard, so not everybody can qualify to get that rating, and it's something that has to be renewed. And so you go through inspections and all that kind of stuff often. And so I've worked in that kind of practice basically for the majority of my career.
And then with the other membership that you said you're personally a member of, do you remember how long you've been a member of that organization?
My entire career.
Okay. But why did you decide to be a member of that particular organization?
The second one, AVMA?
Yes.
So, as a group, basically, they speak for veterinarians, in government, whether it be, national legislation, they're our voice, as a group, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. And let's go ahead and continue on with the different products.
Yep.
I would like to understand, you personally, what are the products that you're using at home to clean and keep it odor-free, especially having, 7 dogs? Like, what are those products that you're using personally at home?
Gotcha. So at home, the floors are mopped with hot water and diluted Pine Sol. And then I wash dog bedding every week, and I wash it in my regular detergent with those Gain beads that help it smell fresh. But everybody's bedding's washed every week, and then I sweep floors every day, and it gets mopped at least once a week just to keep up with hair,
Okay.
You would not walk into my house and think I have 7 dogs unless you heard a bark, but you wouldn't see tumbleweeds of filth and dirt. I'm pretty picky.
Okay. And what about the Pine Sol product do you think makes it so effective at cleaning and controlling pet odor?
I've just used it for so long. And I think most people associate that with a clean smell. And I've just had good luck with it, being a good cleaning product. When I'm cleaning, it gets the job done, I feel.
Okay. And then you say you use the Gain to kind of clean their beddings. What do you think is about that product that also makes it effective at cleaning and controlling odor?
I mean, I see the results. I can't tell you about the chemicals in it, but sometimes you use a cheaper product or whatever, and you pull something out of the washing machine and it just didn't, you got to wash it a second time, and it's been effective in the routine cleaning that I do weekly. I'm happy with how it works, and I do think that not only do the products come out looking clean, but they smell fresh. They don't come out stained and looking dull. They look like they're new, fresh, and ready to go. I use a lot of I call them crate pads. And so we have crates set up, and they all have a crate pad in their crate, and those are what I pull out and I wash every week. And it does a good job cleaning those.
Okay. When it comes to that fresh smell, is that like the original Gain scent, or is it a different scent that they have?
Original Gain smell.
Okay. So you use the Pine Sol for the floors, you use that for the beddings, and
Mhm.
any other products that you may use. I don't know if you use air fresheners or um, any other kind of wipes or things to kind of keep it clean and odor free.
No, no, really. I mean, I used dust wipes, but it doesn't do anything for
Okay.
odor. But I'll use that to wipe walls down, that kind of thing. But dust doesn't really smell.
Do you use any kinds of air fresheners at all or not?
No, uh-uh.
Okay. When you think about the Pine Sol and the gain, do you think one is more effective than the other, or each one is just effective in their own way? What do you think?
Well, I use them in a different circumstance. So,
Okay.
so the gain is to wash the bedding. The Pine Sol is mixed with water to mop the floor. So it's a different circumstance, but they both do a good job. I mean, I wouldn't go putting Pine Sol in the washing machine, you know.
Okay. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, great. Are there any other fragrances that you would consider? You know, if Gain were to come out with a new fragrance, or maybe even Pine Sol decided to come out with a new fragrance, any
Oh,
others that you would consider that you would
a,
still like?
a, yeah, a citrus smell.
Okay, a citrus smell. Okay,
Mhm.
why
Mhm.
why would a citrus smell work for you?
Well, it doesn't smell fake necessarily. It smells natural and it's pleasing to most people, I think. I mean, I like the two, that we've already talked about, but of thinking of an additional one, a citrusy smell, I think smells good. Usually has a good, uh, association with it.
Okay,
And it's not
oh,
over, you know,
it's it's not overpowering.
right.
So, and I know that you've used the Pine Sol in the game for a long time. You know, after you used it in your house, like, how does that make you feel? Like, if you could describe it in an emotion, what would emotion would that be?
Oh, relaxing. It's nice coming home and smelling a clean house.
Okay.
Because
Uh,
I can't relax if things are disorganized or, you know, not clean and put away. And it just, you associate that smell with, okay, starting fresh.
all right. So let's keep going on with some products as well. If a client asks you to recommend a product to help manage pet odor at home, what would you recommend to them? And it may be different depending on the type of pet, or maybe depending on the type of dog. But um, what do you think would be a product that you can recommend to people uh, to help manage pet odor at home?
mm. They don't come in and ask me that, but if a pet has a particular odor, sometimes it can be because they've got like a chronic ear infection or a chronic skin infection, and I'm more directed at treating that, with
Okay.
bathing the animal rather than to do something so much in the environment other than washing bedding, that kind of thing. But that's not something that I would typically ask by a client. I honestly, I think a lot of clients, they don't realize that there may be an odor in their house. They get used to it and they don't smell it. But I'm more about addressing the animal itself rather than um, cleansers in the environment. Unless they ask me a question about what do I use, then I would certainly share what I use to clean my area. But we more focus on talking about what to use on the pet.
Okay. And that makes sense. And uh, well, then let's talk about like maybe pet grooming products. If they
Yeah.
ask you for pet grooming products, what kind of recommendations do you make in that particular case or scenario?
Oh, okay. So a lot of times, like Houston, allergies and skin infections are quite common in dogs, especially. And so a lot of, what we use to treat, there's a line of medicated shampoos that we use and recommend. And I actually use them myself on my dog. So, I know what to expect from them. And a lot of times I'll have a client where if their patient has a chronic skin issue, they'll do maintenance baths, with a medicated shampoo. And those actually have a clean smell. We also, compared to even say 15 years ago, instead of just hauling off and putting a dog on antibiotics, if there's a way that we can treat it with a medicated shampoo, it actually is better. Because we're getting into circumstances where there's resistant bacteria out there. And I've actually had a few patients where there's not been a drug to treat them. So we have to use shampoos. And the trick is when some people say, or, hear me say, you need to bathe your dog every other day. And they go, what? But when you're actually treating an infection and maybe there's not a drug to treat them, the shampoo's the drug. And you've got to do it more frequently when you're treating something.
And when it comes to those, I don't know, do you call the brand name of some of these medicated shampoos? What are they?
Yeah. So the brand name is Duxo, Duoxo. Duxo is the brand name. And they have an antibacterial, anti-yeast shampoo. It's called, that has chlorhexidine in it. Then they have one called Duxo Calm, where if they just have itchy skin, this, shampoo can just be soothing to the skin. And when we use them to treat, you leave the shampoo on for over 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So it needs to have contact time, before you rinse it off. And then also they need to, use cool water, not hot water, because cool water, is more soothing to the skin. Hot water stops blood vessels and creates more inflammation. So, we do a lot of that.
And I remember you saying that after you use it, it has a clean smell. When you say clean smell, is there like a fragrance that you can associate with, or?
No, it just, I don't know how, it doesn't smell like flowers or anything. It just smells fresh.
Okay.
I wish I could elaborate on what fresh means, but it's just pleasant, but not overpowering.
Okay. No, that makes sense. What do you think are the most common complaints people have about these shampoos or other pet grooming products that are available right now in the market?
Maybe the cost. I don't have a lot of complaints about it. It could be the cost or just the having the time to actually get it done,
Okay. Is there anything you would recommend manufacturers of pet grooming products to do better or different, or is it fine the way they are right now?
I guess I don't have complaints so much on the products, for like shampoos and that kind of thing. You just have to find what you like. I guess one thing would be maybe, more availability of different sizes. So for instance, like me, 7 dogs, I don't buy a little bitty bottle of shampoo. I tend to get it by the gallon. So I've got it ready to go. And then maybe, if it would come with, not a screw on top, if it would come with a pump. So it's easy to just use all at once. You've got your gallon, it's got the pump on top, and you just take it to where you're going to bathe them. And, it's easy to, use it that way.
Okay.
Not everybody
What
has dogs though.
Yeah, of course. What are your thoughts if these pet grooming products came out with different fragrances? Do you think that's something people would like or not?
Yeah,
What do you think?
actually, I think actually there are a lot of clients that would like that. Um, yeah, I mean, you could match it to, a popular human fragrance. I mean, there's some people that actually really like that, and there are some that are not about, fragrance, but I think that that could be something successful. Years and years ago, 2 clinics ago where I worked, we actually used to carry doggy perfume that we would spray on them after the owners came in, and they would have us bathe the animal, and they would actually request what fragrance they wanted on their dog when it came home. They got a big kick out of it.
Do you remember what these fragrances were like, those doggy
It
perfumes?
was, yeah, so it was like human perfume. So like, for instance, at the time, Polo perfume was, or Polo, what do you call it? What do you call men's, whatever. So
Like
we would
that,
have,
I think Ralph Lauren
yes,
polos. That's
yes.
yeah.
And then we would have something, like, Coco Chanel something, and, they actually would, it would be similar to the human line, but the cheap dog version. And we'd spritz them before they go out the door, and they thought it was cute.
Do you know why it's no longer a thing? Or is it still done? Or is just
Oh,
getting
yeah. So good question. So where I work now, we don't really have patients come in for grooming, so to speak. I mean, we'll
okay?
do a cleansing bath, but we're not cutting hair and, you know, giving them a do. It's mainly like boarders. They want
Yeah.
to go home, but we're not putting bows in hair. That's kind of a different, clientele.
Okay. Are there any other fragrances that come to mind that may be popular with customers?
Hmm. You mean for on the pet?
Yeah, for on the pet. If it's added to the shampoo or if it's available as a separate spray, like other fragrances that they might find appealing, and
Hmm.
also, maybe it also can be, appealing to the dog or the cat themselves.
Oh, I don't know that it would be so much appealing to the dog or cat. It would be more of the owner kind of thing. Um,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. Um, I'm at a loss.
No, I'll give you some examples that I've heard. Like I've heard like vanilla, like a vanilla
Sure.
scent,
Yes.
or maybe some different types of flowery scents, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get. Like is it like
Oh,
a
gotcha.
flowery scent, like
Yeah.
a jasmine, or I don't know,
Right.
rose is another one
Right.
that I've heard of.
Yeah. Yeah. I think probably more like a vanilla scent or, um, orange peel or, uh, honeysuckle smell. I don't know. Gardenia is kind of strong. Um, not very helpful. Sorry.
No, no, no. You gave me some good examples. I just,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll throw some examples that I've heard of and
Yeah.
just see if you agree with it or have any other examples there.
Uh,
So, I guess in terms of where you usually buy your pet products, going back to the products that you use at home, where do you normally buy your, um, pet products for odor
oh,
control, for cleaning?
for cleaning the pet.
Well, I would like to know like where you buy all your different pet products. Some may be just your normal grocery shopping trip, and some may
Oh,
be at a specific pet store.
okay. Gotcha.
Hmm.
So the medicated shampoos I buy at work.
Okay.
And I always have that on hand. And then, I actually, because I show my dogs, there are suppliers that typically go to dog shows, and I will buy, certain cleansing shampoos, that kind of thing, grooming items when I'm actually at a dog show, because I know some of the vendors, and I've gotten used to some of the products that they carry that wouldn't necessarily be readily available on the shelf, kind of thing. Particularly for my big dogs, the Borzois that have longer coats. It takes a little more work to keep them in shape and in good form and all that kind of stuff.
And what's the name of these specialty stores?
It's not a specialty store. It's,
okay.
When you go to a conformation dog show, so you're showing your dog against dog and its breed, there will be vendors. They're usually individual people. There'll be vendors that set up and they sell, combs and brushes and types of shampoos for show dogs. And that's kind of where I get, if it's not a medicated shampoo, that's where I get my shampoos. I'm kind of unique in that way because I show my dogs.
Oh, okay. So these are things that you're actually purchasing at these different shows and events.
Yeah. Yes.
From
yes.
these like mom and pop shops.
Right. I don't go into PetSmart or that's not where I get my stuff.
Why do you think you don't go to stores like PetSmart in your case?
In my case, I'm at a show often enough, and I have a personal relationship with the people the vendor that I'm dealing with. And, I've used like a particular shampoo just for cleansing if I don't need a medicated one. I've used it for years. There's a line that they carry that's really good for long coated breeds. And, I wouldn't be able to get that at PetSmart. And I also I like to support the individual, corporate. If there's a way that I can support, the individual that owns their own thing, and I like to try to do that if I can.
And when you're buying these products, how are you determining that they're safe? I don't know if it says something on the bottle or certain information that makes you know, okay, this is going to be a safe product to use on my pet or for my pet.
Oh.
Yeah. How are you making that determination?
Yeah. So, these are just simple shampoos that I get at a store. However, I will say one thing though. Sometimes things are labeled as safe and they are not necessarily. For instance, I am not a big believer. I'm not a person that recommends flea shampoo, and I especially don't recommend flea shampoo on a cat. You can read on those labels and it'll say safe for a cat, but cats are unique animals and they will react unpredictably on contact to a flea shampoo. So I never, ever, ever recommend using a flea shampoo on a cat. Actually, you just don't need to on a dog. If that makes sense, you've got to kind of know the population you're dealing with. There's other ways to get at it and prevent fleas, get rid of them. It wouldn't be with the shampoo. So you can't always believe the label.
So how about when you're buying these products from these individual vendors? I'm just kind of understanding what's your thought process to know, okay, I believe that this product is safe, or I know it's safe. How do you think you go about determining that?
Okay. Well, number one, I've used it for years, but the vendors have used it as well. I trust them, and several of the people that I am involved in showing with, we all use it and have had good luck with it. Sometimes you don't always know for sure before you use it. As I said, but I don't typically see terrible reactions to just cleansing shampoos unless you get it in a pet's eye or something. But for just routine cleansing, I just like what it does to the coat, and I've not had a problem with it being unsafe. There's not like huge safety labels on normal shampoo,
okay.
Other than avoid eyes, that kind of thing.
what kind of advice would you give customers who are going to a PetSmart? Like they don't have that kind of relationship, so they go to Petco, PetSmart. Like what kind of advice would you give them? Like if you're going to buy products for your pets, be on the lookout for this or warning on this. You know what I'm saying? Like advice to,
Yeah. No,
you know,
I actually tell them, don't waste your money on a flea shampoo. We'll address that in a different way. We usually will put them on either a topical treatment monthly or something orally that they eat as a, they get a dose once a month kind of thing. I actually tell them, don't waste your money on flea control. And that actually there are certain product lines that I don't like Hearts. Not a fan. I have treated some reactions and I've also found them to be not very effective. So, yeah.
And when it comes to that Hearts product line, where you've had some reaction and they're not been as effective, do you know if they have a particular scent to it or not? Do you recall if there was a scent involved? Fragrance?
It was not because of a scent. It was either, very ineffective or put on the wrong kind of animal. Something that was labeled for a dog was put on a cat, which you can't do, and or it just didn't work. Or sometimes clients think less is, more is even better. And anyway, I just, and they'll sometimes the labeling, they'll lead you to believe it's similar to a different product when it's really not. It works totally different and may take it longer to have the effect that you actually think you're getting. And it just, sometimes over the counter things just aren't as beneficial.
Are there any brands that are over the counter that you would recommend to people or not really? What do you think?
I just think the prescription ones are better for heartworm and flea control, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about a product line just for, just regular grooming or any other brands that are out there for the regular consumer that you feel like, maybe they're not as good as a prescription, but,
yeah, I wouldn't be
more accessible.
Right. So I wouldn't be able to rattle off a brand.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, the practice that I've been in now for 15 years, we don't have a groomer. We don't do grooming, and that would probably be more of a line of how I would be able to say, hey, this cleansing shampoo that you get at blank shop is, I'm just not around it that way.
Okay. Any other advice you would give to people when they're at a PetSmart or a Petco trying to buy products, any kind of product for their pets? Any other warnings or advice that you would give them that you can think of?
About food?
Okay. So it could be about food. It could be about any pet product.
Okay. Yeah. It's kind of a frustration thing. There's a incorrect marketing thing about a lot of the bigger pet stores recommending grain-free diets, and there'll be aisles of grain-free foods, and it's actually not recommended. It actually can be dangerous. And so when I have somebody come in with a puppy, I talk to them about that and ask them first kind of what they're feeding. And then I kind of warn them about, we don't ever recommend it's a marketing bunch of misinformation. It actually can cause, heart disease. So I just tell them to be careful.
Okay. So I want to go into different, other categories of pet care products. I want to talk about cat litter, right? Is there a particular brand or type of cat litter that you recommend?
I wouldn't say so much that I recommend, but what I tell owners is to be very careful about randomly changing the brand that you use. because some cats will get very, very picky and will refuse to go in the litter box if you're using brand A and then you decide to go to brand B. And a cat's funny, they may not like that. And so you've just got to be very, very careful about sudden
making a change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are the most common complaints that people have about cat litter?
The dust. And that it can get tracked, more than just from around the box. It gets, and not controlling odor as well as they would like, probably.
Okay. Do you think that if it had a scent, it could help control odor or not necessarily? What do you think can help with that part?
So a scent could help control odor, but you've also got to be careful. You don't want the scent to be offensive to the cat where they don't want to go use the litter.
Okay. Anything else that you think they can do to control odor?
Well, if I knew, I would do it.
And then you would make a lot of money out of that.
Honestly, I mean, they've got to really regularly, clean it. And I think sometimes people don't actually clean the litter box enough,
Okay.
But as far as products,
yeah. And you were saying that a scent may be able to help, but it can't be offensive to the cat. Can you think of any fragrances, like I asked for some examples before, of fragrances that can probably work and not be offensive to the cat? Any that come to mind? And it could be any of the ones that we've already talked about. We talked about the orange peel, the vanilla. It could be whatever.
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know, because cats are unique. It's what might trigger one, another one might not think it's such a big deal. It's hard to get inside their head and know what a cat would say is okay,
Okay. Do you think maybe just kind of a fresh cleaning smell, maybe a little bit more for like overall umbrella for cats?
Yes.
What do you think?
I think that's safer other than something I certainly don't think something real strong would be a good idea.
Okay. Right. Anything else that you consider like a light smell that wouldn't be strong, or a slight scent that you think, okay, that scent would be light, it wouldn't be so strong?
Like a linen smell, or I don't know. It's just
Okay, linen smell. That's a good example. Let me ask you something. Are there any safety concerns that people have when using cat litter? Do you have any concerns, safety concerns?
No, not so much safety concerns. It's just being careful so the cat actually agrees to use the box.
Okay. One of the things I heard in some of the other things is like they might have a dog that might eat the cat litter, or I don't know if you ever had that happen before or heard of it.
Yeah, it happens a lot, but that's more of you just need to set it up. I call it recycling. You don't want to set it up where the dog has easy access to the litter box. That's just, to me, that's common sense. That's not a litter problem. That's a owner problem.
Any other feedback you have for manufacturers of cat litter to make it better, different, or?
Only if they could, the more they can do to control the level of dust would be a positive. Yeah.
Then in terms of, laundry detergent, and I know that you say you use Gain, is that something you would recommend as well to pet owners, or would you recommend something different to them when it comes to using a laundry detergent to like wash the pet's bedding or anything like that?
No, that's not, we don't really talk about that, about which brand to use or anything, huh?
Okay. So even if you don't talk about it, like if it was a hypothetical situation, would you recommend what you use, or would you recommend, well, just make sure it's this, and this when you buy it?
No, I mean, I've never even had anybody ask me what I use to wash my clothes in, cause there's so many variables. There are a lot of people that are themselves allergic to certain detergents and stuff. I don't think they would go in asking their veterinarian what to use.
So right now, I think you use the Gain, right?
Uh, uh,
To wash your beddings.
yeah.
Is there anything that Gain, for example, or any other manufacturers of these types of detergents can do better or different?
No, I think they're very effective.
Okay. Are you concerned or not about having something that maybe is more green, more environmentally friendly? Is that something that even concerns you or not?
Not so much with laundry detergent.
Okay, fair enough. What about poop bags? Or is there a particular brand or type of poop bags that you use?
Oh, so nope. I just buy what I find, and I these days just use them when I travel because I travel with my dog, so I have them packed. But around the house, we're on over 3 acres, and I use my grocery bags. That's what I recycle them for. So to rattle off a brand, I'm not picky on brand.
What do you think are the most common complaints that people have about poop bags?
I haven't heard anybody complain about poop bags. Although, I will say if something's too cheap and it doesn't hold up, you want to be strong enough to not disintegrate when you're trying to clean up a mess. But honestly, I've not heard anybody really
Okay.
complain.
What are your what are your thoughts or opinions of an unscented versus a scented poop bag?
I don't think you really need scented because it's not like you're going to have something sitting around. You're going to pick it up and get rid of it. And so I don't really think that you need a scented bag.
Okay. Um, it, if somebody were to use a scented bag, do you think there's some scents that could work or not really?
Yeah, but for how long? I mean, how long are you going to cling on to that loaded poop bag? I just, it's like you pick it up and you get rid of it. You throw it away in the big trash, wherever that is. So, and usually, I mean, I see a lot of people, walking their dog out in public. Well, you're going to aim for the big public trash can to get rid of it. So I, I don't know how necessary that would typically be.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts you have about any other products that people use at home, like air fresheners or flooring, carpet cleaners, that you know of are good or to use and, can also be, safe for their pets. And those kind of categories, air fresheners, floor, carpet cleaners. Any other
Uh,
thoughts on those areas?
So, not so much now. I don't really have carpet myself anymore, but probably 5 years ago when we still had carpet, I did use, a Bissell carpet cleaner with their pet odor eliminator stuff. And that seemed to be pretty effective if somebody would have an accident. The Bissell stuff seemed to work pretty well.
Does it seem to, do you remember have some kind of fragrance or scent to it?
It had just kind of a clean smell. It was more of an odor eliminator and a cleanser all in one. And you would pre-treat an area for about 10 minutes and then you would go over it with your cleaner. And it did help get, stains out. I had older pets at the time at our other house and, carpeted area upstairs. And I did use that every now and then, and it did seem to help. And it wasn't a real strong smell. It was more aimed at getting rid of the odor from the accident spot.
Right. All right. So we're here at the top of the hour, and I want to make sure that I wrap up. When you think about pets that suffer from allergies like skin rashes, respiratory issues, how often do you think it is caused by a household or pet products? Like if you were to give it a percentage, like X% of the time, a household or pet product may cause some type of allergy, but X% is due to these and other factors.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So not so much products. I would say 95% of allergy issues in pets are either inhalant allergies like grass, molds, pollens, or fleas, like a parasite. Maybe 5% would be more like somebody smokes and the animals around that. And they've got, animals got existing respiratory issues or asthmatic cats. Being around a smoker in no way, shape, or form is helpful, and so sometimes I've got to ask, or you can smell it on their clothing kind of thing. But it's not going to be so much a chemical thing. It's more the pollen. Houston, it's, it never gets that cold that long where stuff dies down and you don't have a blooming season,
So when it comes to household or pet care products, would you say it's like 1%, like a really small percentage or none at all? Huh?
At the most, maybe 1%.
Okay. Oh, fair enough. All right. So thank you so much for participating. That was really my last question.
Okay.
Like I said, I just need to ask you a few things to kind of build your profile. Let me just go ahead and stop the